So yesterday at the track, things went super well. The car ran, honestly, way better than I expected. I was kind of nervous about how well it would do. I said in the video that I thought if it ran in 1070, I'd be happy. First pass off the trailer, got on the two-step, it would only build about 3.5 pounds of boost. And I was leaving at 2,900 RPM. And it did a 169 60 foot, 6.9, nice. And then it went 6.5 at basically 112. It was like 111.98 or something. To the 8th, I short shifted right at 6,000 RPM. The car made it peaked at 22 pounds of boost right after the 1-2 shift, and then it tapered back down to about 20 pounds of boost at the end of the run. And it crossed the line at 10:13 at 135 miles an hour. So with all that, pretty happy with how it did, because this is still a pretty basic setup. And for it to go 130, I mean, I built the entire rear suspension on this car, so I was nervous. But there are some bugs to work out of it. For example, we almost actually didn't make it to the track, because as I was about to pull the car onto the trailer, a couple wires shorted out, and we had to rewire the ground for the fuel pumps and everything. It wasn't the ground for the fuel pumps that shorted out, but that was one of the wires that was next to it, and that got taken out. And then the reason we only made one pass at the track was because fuel was sloshing out of the back and dripping it onto the starting line. And then because good news always comes in threes, this morning a little bit I made a few changes to the tune, and I was testing the two-step, and all of a sudden I see some smoke coming out of here, and I smell the ever so familiar smell of burning oil. That oil feed line going to the turbo, you can't really see, but at the end of my finger, right there, it was just touching the manifold and it melted a hole in it. Luckily that's a pretty easy fix. The fuel, that hopefully shouldn't be too hard to fix. The tune while going down the track for the most part looked pretty good. I do want to take a look at the number one plug because I put a fresh one in right before the run, so I want to see how that looks, and hopefully it looks pretty good. At 20 pounds of boost, it was about 9 degrees of timing, and this is an E85 car. So just want to check it to see where things are at and just make sure everything looks healthy. The engine seems to be doing really good. I kind of have a hesitant plan for this winter, how I want to change some things up on it, make it a little bit faster. So I'm pretty sure that means next year we're gonna have to put a legit cage and a parachute if we want to run at the track anymore. Which honestly, I do like doing track stuff. I think it makes for really good videos. It's good lighting, easy to see everything. People can see the actual times in mile an hour, and it gives the vehicle the best opportunity to work. As far as what's more fun to drive, I think the streets are more fun. I should have checked this before testing the two-step, but honestly, I just didn't even think about it. We got a real clear timing mark. Hopefully you guys can see it, but it looks pretty clean. You can see the timing mark. So, can make a couple adjustments there. But for the most part, it's not too bad. I'm just happy that there's no oil on anything, really. That's the thing that I was mostly nervous about. Alright, it is a few days later. Had to wait for the oil line to show up for the RX-7 here. And you'll notice this thing's outside the garage. This is the turbo 6-liter Trailblazer SS clone that has been sitting on the lift over there for quite a while now. Finally got it out yesterday, took it down the road, found a few more issues with it, which is par for the course. That's why I told Neil, the guy who owns it, that as soon as it's together, I don't want to give it back to you. I want to put a few miles on it and make sure everything's kind of kosher and gonna be all right with it. Because there's no worse feeling than giving someone back their car and something going wrong with it. It just makes you feel like a real piece of duty. So I told him I want to put a few miles on it and try to do my best to make sure that the thing's going to be pretty reliable. The issue is I think it has a blown head gasket that's leaking outside the block, which wasn't me. That was not me. I have not opened this engine up at all. Haven't even had the intake off it. Haven't even had the valve covers off of it. So I can't be blamed for this head gasket. not like on that blue Olds. But let's see if it'll fire up, and I'm gonna move it up closer to the garage there, and that way when the time comes to mess with the head gasket, it's not too bad. Hopefully this battery stayed charged. So there's still a lot of tuning to do, but it does actually fire up and run. You can already see the smoke, so I'm gonna move it pretty quickly. No, fuck. It's pretty quiet with the turbo going all the way back through the stock exhaust. Where did you go? But yeah, you can see, you guys won't be able to see it, but just under the seam where the head sits on the block, there's a bunch of wetness, giggity, that wasn't there before. I'm gonna do a little bit of investigating on this and try to confirm that it is 100% the head gasket. I mean, there's no reason for it to be the head gasket. Neil said that this engine was running and driving in a Silverado SS, much like the Cologne that I've got in here. And the shop this was at, they just plucked it out of that, dropped it in this, and like it. Aside from the intake and turbo and stuff, this is bone stock, like not even a cam swap. So I would be hard pressed to think that it blew a head gasket basically just sitting, but you know, weird stuff happens. Cars are real weird. And I did rewire the fans to let the Holley actually control them. So once it gets up to about 190 degrees, 195 or so, it kicks both fans on. Got it running through a relay right there. Oh, and I did end up getting a new alternator bracket for it, so the belt alignment issue is all taken care of. That works great, and it looks pretty good. So now I'm debating on fixing this fuel rail they got here, because this under the black tape is just like a normal plumbing 90. They had it like that to clear the factory alternator. So I should be able to just take that out and put this AN fitting up here and make it look a lot nicer. I'm just happy that we got this thing actually running and driving. I'm really, really hoping that I don't have to pull the engine apart. I'm gonna check the oil, check the coolant, see if anything's mixed anywhere, and just try to give everything a good once over. Because aside from that, all it just needs is I need to run a vacuum line to the brakes, which I'm not sure where I want to rob that source from yet, and then tune it, and the thing's basically good to go once it's tuned. So I've just been trying to play catch up with everything. Been working on that as much as I can while still trying to work on everything else. Got the new oil line for the RX-7 last night, so we'll get this thrown on real quick and then that thing's fixed. I'm gonna try to take it to the next Wednesday test and tune at US 131. If you saw the last video, finally took it to the track, and leaving on 3.5 pounds of boost, I short shifted right at 6,000 RPM. It went 10-13 at 135 with a 169 60 foot. So I'm gonna try to, I think I got the two-step issue fixed. It was going really lean on the two-step, so it wouldn't build more than 3.5 pounds of boost. I think I got that fixed. I'm gonna try to leave on like 7 or so pounds of boost and not short shift it. We should be able to go 9s, like I'm hoping 980s or so at closer to 140 mile an hour. It might not do quite 140, but we should be able to get 9s somewhat easily. And the radials did fine there, so I'll probably just leave them. Oh, and I gotta fix the fuel slosh issue. Yeah, you can hopefully see right there where it just rested on the manifold and just melted right through it. I put air to it and you can see it just right through there. Perfecto. I think we are good. Someone commented a couple videos back why I don't have the drain and feed more vertical on that turbo. I just can't. If I try to straighten it up any more than that, it starts hitting things. So that's where we're at. Seems to be doing fine so far. So I'm not gonna mess with it. So we'll check that off the list. Call it done. Now I gotta find something else to work on. I really should get back to work on that. I got this and the Monte Carlo to get back to work on. The Monte Carlo is actually super close. I gotta put gear oil in the rear end, install the shifter, a few little fuel fittings to finish up the fuel system, run power to the fuel pump, radiator fans, transmission fluid, put the dipstick in. Basically there's like one good day's worth of work and that thing should be running and driving. Should be. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. We'll see you next time.